Let's look at how to convert between common fractions and percentages, but without using a calculator. Okay, now obviously you're going to have a calculator with you, and you're definitely going to check your answers on a calculator, but we do need you to be able to work with these numbers without the calculator. Okay, I want to remind you that percentage is another way of saying a fraction out of 100. We know that it is something out of 100. That is part of our lives. We're very aware of percentage. What we need to do is we need to get whatever the denominator is, we need to get it into something that is 100. And so the trick here is to say this is already out of 10. What do I do to it to get it out of 100? And of course you've done this 100 times before. You have been converting to get an LCD. So let's just pretend this is like an LCD. And let's say 10, you would times by 10 to get it out of 100. And so 3, we also have to times by 10. Remember that it's that old trick of timesing by 10 over 10, which is just 1. So you're technically not changing the fraction, you're just changing the numerator and the denominator equally, and what you do to the bottom, you do to the top, and then you just change the form factor. You have not changed the value. 3 times 10 is 30, which means my percentage I can now take straight away as the numerator once this whole thing is out of 100. So my percentage is 30%. For question B, I've got the percentage, and what I want is I want the common fraction. So what we can do is we can immediately say that 3% is 3 out of 100. The next thing to decide is, can this simplify? And if you think about it, 3 definitely does not divide into 100, and it's a prime number anyway, so nothing else divides into it except 1. So my answer is just going to be 3 out of 100. The next one, I've got to convert 60% to a common fraction. So I do know that 60% is 60 out of 100, but this time it does convert to a much simpler fraction. Okay, let's just go with what we can see. 60 out of 100, I can cancel some 10s here. That's the same as 6 out of 10. Is that the simplest form? No, because 2 can go into 6 3 times, and 2 go into 10 5 times, and that is my simplest fraction. What if I take the fraction 3 out of 20 and I have to convert that into a percentage? Again, I'm going to get it to be something out of 100. What do I multiply 20 by to get 100? I multiply it by 5, which means the 3 must also multiply by 5. 3 times 5 is 15. That means what we have as our answer is 15%. 105%, oh, that's a little scary. It's over 100. Okay, let's go through the system. It's 105%, means out of 100. And now we need to simplify. So we're going to get an improper fraction. We already have one. And it looks like it's definitely going to simplify because 5, there's multiples of 5 going on here. So let's see. Okay, now this part you might need to do on the calculator. You might say to yourself, well, I don't have multiples of 5 that go up to 105. So maybe I'll take 105 and divide it by 5 on the calculator and see how that goes. So it's still not possible for anyone to know that you've done that, and that's why using a calculator for little baby steps is still going to be okay. But you probably do know how many times 5 goes into 100, which is 20. 21 out of 20, I'm sure you can see that is not going to simplify. For question F, I've got something out of 200 and I need to convert to a percentage. Okay, what do I want it out of? I want it out of 100. What did I do to the 200 to get 100? I divided by 2. Okay, so what we're saying is I need to divide the 7 by 2. Well, that's a bit awkward because 7 doesn't divide by 2. Well, it doesn't do so with a whole number answer, but it actually does work out because it's 3.5, isn't it? It's 3.5 over 100. So that just means it's 3.5%. What if we ask this question? 15 is what percent of 50? So what we're saying is 15 needs to be a percentage of 50. It's a quite strange way of asking the question. They're saying, well, if you say 15 out of 50, what is that as a percentage? Okay, so it's going to be the same as what we've done. It's just asked for it in a different way. So 50 does what to get to 100? It multiplies by 2. So I'm going to multiply that by 2 as well. And that gets me to 30. My answer then is that 15 is 30% of 50. Let me show you that. This is just an extra step. So I'm basically saying 30% of 50 because I've said that is my answer. Now I'm just going to check it. Okay, 50 goes into itself once and into 100 twice. So I'm saying 30 times 1 is 30 over 2 times 1 is 2. But what's 30 over 2? That's 15. Okay, this was just sidebar calculations to prove my point without a calculator, but you can see 15 really is 30% of 50. The next question is a little harder because it's saying that they want us to know what is the percentage of 1/3 out of 5 over 6. Okay, so they're saying 1/3 is what percentage of 5 out of 6. And first we're going to put it as a fraction. But watch out here. We've got fractions within fractions. 1/3 out of 5/6. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to tip in times. We're going to say 1/3. Remember that this divide line is telling us that it's 1/3 divide by 5/6. So that means I'm going to tip in times and I'm going to say it's times by 6 over 5. Okay, then we can work that out. 3 goes into itself once and into 6 twice. 1 times 2 is 2 and 1 times 5 is 5. So I've managed to clean this up and understand that actually when you take 1/3 out of 5/6 you get 2/5. Okay, now we want to know what is that as a percentage. Okay, so we want to know what it is as a number out of 100. Well, 5 times 20 gets me to 100, so 2 times 20 will get me to 40. My answer is 40%.